Welcome to the Self-Growth Nerds podcast. I'm your host, Marie, a courage coach, creative soul, and adventure seeker. Since through hiking the Pacific Crest Trail in 2019, I'm on a mission to help you embrace your most confident self so you can achieve your dreams too. If you're eager for deep conversations, big questions, and meaningful connections, join me on the quest to discovering how we can create a more magical and memorable life. Hello nerds! How are you today? I'm good. I'm here sitting with my tea next to the fire because I needed to create an atmosphere that was going to allow me to record this podcast. You see, I've sat in front of my mic 3 times in the past few weeks to record this podcast and never once managed to make sense. So a lot is going on. And I was going to call it off and take a week for me without any podcast coming out. But tonight is Sunday night. The podcast usually comes out on Monday mornings. And my heart was just telling me to try once again. I really want to be consistent. And I want you to be able to open up your podcast app and see the Self-Growth Nerds podcast appear there every week. I know how this feels. My favorite podcasts, I look forward to the day in the week that they come out. When I wake up on Thursdays, I'm happier than usual because I know that 2 of my favorite podcasts come out. And if you feel like this on Monday mornings, I do not want to ruin this for you, okay? I truly, truly admire people like John and Hank Green who do the Vlog Brothers videos on YouTube. They've been doing 1 video a week, every week, for more than 10 years. And sometimes the videos are lower quality because, you know, life happens. Speaking of which, I'm not going to have time to send this to my editor. So you're going to hear my silences and you're going to hear me mess up my sentences. But that's fine. Sometimes we just got to throw perfectionism out the window for the benefit of what? I was going to say consistency, but it's not consistency to me. It's more about showing up for myself and for you guys. So first I want to start by telling you a little bit about my week, talk about what's going on in the world, and then we're going to jump in today's episode. Today's episode is about confidence and the conclusions that we make about life and about people around us. You'll see what I mean. But first, just a few news, a few updates on what's been going on. So in the last week, I was not working. I was actually staying with one of my closest friends because her son fractured his tibia. He's 18 months old, so a year and a half. And his whole leg is in a cast, which makes it impossible for him to go to nursery. And she's also bedridden due to a risky pregnancy, and her husband needs to work. So, you know, when shit hits the fan, sometimes 2 shits hit the fan at the same time. And I don't know what this analogy is, but that's what came to mind. So I decided to go and help them. And I went to live with them in the guest room, took care of the son, and it was really, really sweet. She asked me to be the godmother of the next kid that's coming, that's in her belly right now, impatient to come out. So that was really sweet. And then on Friday, I came home to my nephew who was here with Ollie, and we took care of my nephew, who's almost 2 years old, for the whole weekend. So that was a whole 7 days of playing parent. I spent a lot of time on the floor, rolling around, trying to make the babies laugh, blowing noses, wiping hands, wiping faces, running around, trying to find ways to entertain them. And it was as beautiful, as wonderful as it was boring, to be honest. There were moments where I just looked at the time and looked forward to their nap. Truth be told. Today, I did a massive cleanup of the house, and I just feel super tired and sore, as if I've been on a 1 week hike. And now I realize that's what parents experience all the time. I had this magical thinking where I imagined I was going to be able to work while they napped, but while they nap, I just wanted to lay in starfish position and have a moment for me. So work I didn't do much of, but I'm jumping back into tomorrow morning, or I guess right now while I'm talking to you, while I'm recording this. But this doesn't feel like work. All right, let me just take a sip of my tea, mint tea. Okay. So while I was rolling around on the floor, Russia invaded Ukraine. This is really sad, really scary, and really heartbreaking. There is no valid justification for war in 2022. There's never been really, but I would have hoped that by now we would have evolved as human beings to be smarter than this. Smarter than fixing our problems by dropping bombs on buildings and civilians that did not ask to be part of this. Anyway, when I feel powerless, what I love to do, what I've learned to do, thanks to my therapist, we talked a lot about this a few years ago when George Floyd died, is that instead of worrying about how you cannot fix all of the big issues around the world, look at what are the small yet meaningful actions that you can take around you to help, to alleviate someone's daily life. For me this week, it looked like helping my friend with her toddler and helping my sister-in-law with hers. Okay? And you might think, oh, but this has nothing to do with what's going on in Ukraine. But you'd be mistaken, because like Hank Green said this week, every problem is linked to all other problems. Probably said it better than I just did, but you get the gist. Ultimately, what we want is for our efforts to help create a better world, right? So while you might not have given a donation to Ukraine, if the actions that you take help make the world a better place, then you are contributing. Then you are doing enough. Jane Goodall made an amazing video about this in which she says, don't think globally, act locally. Because then you'll be able to see that you can actually make a difference. You actually see the people for whom you're making life easier. And when you see that you make a difference, you want to do more. That's what Jane Goodall says. And as you do more, it's like a feedback loop, and then you inspire others to join you. So don't underestimate that. Don't underestimate taking small actions, and that's very important, and trust that the ripple effect is important, and that if everyone did that, focused on making their own small world a better place, we would live on a completely different planet. This way of thinking has allowed me to find peace and take a lot more action than I did before, because instead of being stuck in my worried head, I am actually channeling my intense caring towards what I can control. And like I said, this week it involved a lot of rolling around on the floor. A few months ago, it looked like taking my cousin's teenage daughter at home for the weekend when she was going through a rough patch. And it's also tons of other small actions that I'm not going to list here because this is not about me anyway, and I don't have anything to prove. This, by the way, is another thing I've worked on with my therapist and my coaches. I know what kind of person I am. I know how I treat others. I know what's in my heart. And that's what matters. And the people who love me will see my heart too. So when there's a big crisis, you can just be you and show up as yourself and do what you can. But remember that you don't have to prove anything to anyone. You can improve, but you have nothing to prove. Just the feeling of having something to prove is what fucks us up. Excuse my French, as they say, is what fucks us up, because it takes us out of our truth. And it makes us look at ourselves from other people's eyes. And we don't want to act from there, because that's not authentic. We want to act from our core. So that means taking a moment to ask yourself what you want to do, what feels meaningful to you. If you want to help, if you feel called to helping right now, what would feel meaningful to you? Not what would look right to your sister-in-law or what would look good on social media. Okay? I mean, we've seen things like, oh, well, if you're not talking, if you're staying silent, then it means you're on the side of the oppressor, but I don't necessarily agree with that. There's an illustrator that I really love that's called Fran Nerd. She was telling the story of how when George Floyd died, she didn't write a statement or anything for the week after that, and she received so much hate for this. But meanwhile, what nobody knew is that she was going through a very painful loss. She was processing a loss. So we have to give people the benefit of the doubt and trust that they have their own shit to deal with. Okay? There's no instruction manual for how one should respond in times of crisis. Okay? Focus on yourself. Focus on you. What you're doing to contribute to creating a better world. And sometimes that's going to be just taking care of yourself. And that's fine. That's fine. Sometimes you have to take care of yourself really, really well so that you fill up your reservoir and then you have love and energy and time to give others. Okay? I trust you. I trust that you know what's best for you in this time. Okay, I'm about to move to today's topic, but first I want to share one more thing. Inspired by another quote I read this week. So I'm considering having my own children with my partner in a few years. And I've been hearing a lot of people say, why would you bring a child into this apocalyptic world? They have no future. And this never resonated with me. The quote I read is, never feel sorry for raising dragon slayers in a time where there are actual dragons. I'm sorry, I don't know who said that. I didn't find the source. But it was very moving to me. We don't know, for those of us who are called to having children, we don't know what they're going to create in their life. How much joy they're going to bring to the world, how much impact they're going to have. And who's to say that their life would be any less worthwhile because it might be more challenging than ours was. I think even if they die early, even if they struggle, even if they have to fight for their lives, their existence is still meaningful and worth it. I know we have to consider overpopulation, but that's not what I'm talking about right now. I'm just addressing the question that some people bring up about whether or not we're doing a disservice to the people we bring into the world because of what they're going to have to go through potentially. Okay? That's what I was addressing, my belief on that topic. So now, today I want to talk about belief. Choosing beliefs that make you feel good. Or not necessarily good, but choosing belief that serve you. Last week, when I was staying at my friend's, they bought me a gift card because I love to have a latte every morning and they're not coffee people, so the coffee they have at home sucks. So they got me a gift card for their local cafe, and my routine with their son was to put him in the stroller every morning and go get a latte. And the barista at the cafe was super nice to me. He opened the door. He helped me come in because when you live in a cold place like Quebec in the winter, there's lots of places that have 2 doors to keep the cold outside and to keep the people inside warm. And it's very messy when you have a stroller. It gets complicated. So the barista was super helpful, and he was making like what I imagine were nice smiles, although he had a mask, so I just saw his eyes. And one thing about me is when a barista is extra nice to me, I just assume they have a crush on me. That's actually how my previous relationship started. We were together for 3 years, and it was just a nice barista that I decided had a crush on me and invited to go on a date with me. In last week's case, it didn't really matter what the truth was because I was not going to ask him out or anything. I just enjoyed believing that because it made me feel good about myself. It made me feel like, yeah, I still got it. And I'm telling you this because in order to feel like that, you don't need evidence. You don't need evidence that it's true. There are situations in life where you don't know the truth. You probably will not know the truth. And in a lot of cases, the truth doesn't even matter. In that case, the truth didn't matter. Did he have a crush on me or not? Doesn't matter. What matters is how I felt by choosing to believe this. I just sat in the cafe with my head held up high, thinking to myself, yeah, I'm pretty cool. I'm pretty cute too. And the thing is, if you choose to believe that you're pretty cool and that lots of people would love to get to know you and be in your company, you're going to see evidence of that everywhere. It's called confirmation bias. But if you believe that you're hard to love or that it's hard for you to meet people that you like, you're also going to see evidence of that everywhere. And evidence of the opposite is going to seem invisible. That's how our brains work. So we want to gain awareness of what we believe about ourselves and the world and choose beliefs that are going to make us feel the way we want to feel. Why? Because it completely changes the way you show up in the world. Choosing to believe that the barista had a crush on me brightened my day, made me smile more, made me be more patient with the kid I was taking care of, made me more friendly, made me look people in the eyes, people that were around me in the cafe, look them in the eyes and smile instead of being stuck in my worried brain scrolling my phone. Back in the day, when my previous relationship started, it was a cafe I kept going to in London to do my homework, my college homework. And I told my roommate, I'm pretty sure the barista has a crush on me. And she said, don't be silly. It's his job. It's his job to be nice to the customers, Marie. But I had an intuition, so I waited a little bit and then eventually grabbed my courage and asked him out. He could very well have said no, but he said yes. And he told me later on that he didn't have any agenda. He was just being his normal self, being nice to the customers like my roommate said. But because I took a chance, we formed a connection and a relationship that lasted for 3 years. You know what it makes me think of? It makes me think of Olaf in Frozen. I watched that movie for the first time this week. I'm late to the party. But Olaf is the snowman, for those of you who had not watched Frozen either. And he has a carrot for a nose. And there's a scene in which the reindeer tries to eat the carrot. And Olaf goes, oh, the reindeer's trying to kiss my nose. And it's super funny. And obviously we know it's not true. But it doesn't really matter because Olaf feels loved and feels kinship with the reindeer. And in the end, they become good friends. And that's what I'm telling you about. And it's completely different from ignorance is bliss. No, it's not that. It's making conclusions that serve you, giving people the benefit of the doubt, seeing the best in them, assuming the best in them. And sometimes you might be wrong. Sometimes you might get hurt. But most of the time, the chances are you'll be surprised. And it's not even about what happens outside of you. It's about how those beliefs make you feel inside. Let's say I'd asked the barista to go for a drink and he'd said no. What's the worst thing that can happen? That he says, no, you're crazy. Ugh. Is that the worst thing that could happen? Then that's only bad if I make it mean something about myself. If I make it mean that he's right in some way, that I am weird. But I can just as well decide to make it mean that, okay, said no. And carry on with my day. That's it. Rejection is only bad if you make it mean something bad about you. And I know you may have been rejected in the past, especially when you were a child, and it speaks to those feelings. But we can rewrite that programming inside ourselves. And when we feel rejected, we can choose intentionally to make it mean something that serves us. Okay, I'm going to give you other examples. My friend who I was with this week, she said when she had her first baby, she hoped she would make friends with other parents when she went out on walks with the strollers, but that she felt like the other parents didn't look like they wanted to talk. And she might be right, but the truth doesn't really matter, because you can choose to believe that there are parents out there who crave connection and who would be happy to have a conversation with you about what they're going through. So you could decide to, when you exchange a smile, a stranger, a parent that you don't know at the park or something, you could decide to stop and start a conversation, believing that they would be happy to connect with you. Okay, the worst thing that can happen is the person is like, ugh, they're so annoying. Why are they talking to me? But that doesn't matter. You can just go on with your day. You don't have to make it mean that they're right. And then the best thing that can happen is the person is like, oh my God, I'm so happy they came to talk to me. I didn't know I needed this, but thank God, because that conversation brightened my day. Do you see what I mean? And you don't even have to act on it. Like this week when I sat in the cafe thinking about how the barista had a crush on me, I didn't act on it. I just hung out in that sweet feeling, just felt warm and fuzzy inside. So you could be a parent who walks around with their stroller believing when you run into other parents and you exchange looks with them, believing that you're all in this together, that you're in this like secret, what do they call it in Lord of the Rings? Fellowship. You're in this secret fellowship of parenthood and there's something special between you. How is that gonna make you feel? Maybe you think that's cheesy. I know that would make me feel special. That would make me feel good as a parent. So, what about you? What are your beliefs? How do they make you feel? How do you want to change what you believe so that you move through your life feeling better? Okay, stop looking for external evidence to feel good. Start creating beliefs that are going to make you feel good. And then that's going to create evidence in the world. Okay, that's crazy. That's crazy how it works. I'm going to give you another example from my personal life. My current relationship with my partner, Ollie, we met at the climbing gym. Just bouldering, talking to each other. He made a few jokes. I thought he was funny. He told me that he went to the gym every other day. So I made a mental note to go back to the gym 2 days later. I did. He was there. We had a conversation. I felt the chemistry was good. And I thought, okay, I'm going to wait for him at the exit and I'm going to ask him out. I didn't have any external evidence from him that he was interested. I didn't want to wait for an evidence that he was. My belief back then when I was single, and interested in dating, was there are people for me everywhere. So I would get on a plane, I would go to the grocery store, I would go to the cafe, I would go to the climbing gym with that belief in mind. There are people for me everywhere. I hereby give you the permission to steal that belief and use it for yourself. Because what it does is it opens you up to opportunities. It's like it removes your blinders and you start looking for evidence of that. When you strike up a conversation, you think, ooh, maybe this is a person for me. And you don't make a case about it. I mean, you don't harass people. It's just always in the back of your mind. Ooh, maybe this is a person for me. It's curiosity. And it makes you be more present in the conversations, more open, more courageous. So I sat outside the climbing gym waiting for Ollie to come out, and I said, would you be willing to go for a drink with me? Something like that. And I was not attached to the result. The worst thing that would happen is he would politely decline, or no, that would have been the worst thing. The worst thing would have been he would have gone, ew, no. But that's fine. I can just feel really bad for a moment, go home, cry, and get over it, I guess. I don't have to make it mean anything bad about myself. I can decide to make it mean, okay, well, I gave it my best shot. I took a chance. It didn't work, but I was super courageous. And then the best thing that could happen is he went, oh my God, yes. so happy that you asked. And again, Ollie told me he had not been flirting. He had not been hoping for me to ask him out. He was just being his normal social self, as he is still all the time with everyone that he meets. But I just decided to see that as an opportunity to take a chance. And there we are. We've been together for 6 years. And I'm bragging here. I realize I'm bragging here. We're together because I decided to believe in me, to believe in him, to assume the best out of the situation. And from assuming the best out of the situation, I created this reality. Now, I'm going to give you other examples that are not related to dating. Because what I'm talking about right now is relevant to everyone, even if you're single, married, interested in dating or not. It's just important in all aspects of your life. So let's say I teach a workshop, or I give a talk, or you're presenting something at work in a meeting. Okay, basically, imagine you're in front of people presenting something that you care about. Everyone in the audience is going to have a different face, a different set of thoughts, and a different set of feelings. Their face might look like they're bored as fuck, or like they're judging you, like they think what you're saying doesn't make sense, or that you're stupid. It's easy when the person in front of you is smiling and nodding and looks super interested and excited. But there are faces that are harder to interpret, right? In those moments, you always have a choice. You always have a choice because you don't know what's going on in their mind. You can choose to believe that they think you're stupid. Okay? How does that make you feel? Makes you feel insecure, and it impacts how you show up in the rest of the presentation or the meeting or the talk. Or you can choose to believe, oh, they're having a rough day. They're probably tired. Or, oh, maybe they need clarification. Let me ask if they have any questions. You always have a choice to decide what you want to believe. So you might as well believe something that's going to make you feel empowered, that's going to make you feel clear-headed, that's going to make you feel present, or at least indifferent. But not something that's going to make you feel lame or insecure or less than. And again, it's not about external evidence. Some of you are going to tell me, but they were looking at me weird. They were judging me. No. That's what you make their looks mean. You never know what's going on behind the surface. And even if the person in front of you is thinking, oh my God, they are so lame. Like, oh my God, Becky, why are they talking about this? This makes no sense. Who cares? Who the F cares? Again, you can make that mean what you want. If the person thinks your presentation is lame, you can decide to make it mean that it's just their opinion. You can decide to make it mean that you're a work in progress, that you can always improve, that you're open to feedback, that your presentation is amazing and you don't want to take their opinion into account because this person is not important to you. It depends from one situation to the next, but the point is you get to choose the conclusion that you make. And don't pretend that you know the truth when you don't. Same thing with someone who ghosts you, for example. You decide what you make it mean. If you want to be angry, make it mean something that's going to make you feel angry. If you want to feel compassionate, make it mean something that's going to make you feel compassionate. If you want to feel indifferent, make it mean something that is going to make you feel indifferent. There are so many situations where we don't know the truth, and it's like we get to fill in the blanks. Fill in the blanks in a way that serves you? How do you want to see the world? What do you believe about people? And funnily enough, I've found that what you believe about people is what you create around you. I believe that most people do their best, that most people want to be kind. And I've found that that's the reality that I create around me. That is what I see around me. If you have a cynical view of the world and you think people are mean and they are dishonest, and maybe you listen to a lot of murder podcasts, then you're going to walk around with this in mind, and it's going to influence what you see and how you interpret the events around you. If you take the podcast example, if you listen to lots of murder podcasts, you're going to be more fearful when you walk around at night. And if you run into a person in the dark, you might be scared. Not because they are dangerous, but because you have fed your brain with all of these ideas that influence how you see your reality. And I hear some of you tell me, but the world is a dangerous place. And yeah, there are dangerous people, but there are also so many more kind people who are there to help. So who do you want to focus on? A few years ago, I visited friends in London, and it was on a weekday, so they wanted to go home early because they worked the next day, but I was on vacation and I was feeling like staying in town. So I walked around and went to sit in a bar. It was what do you call them? There was a piano man. It was amazing. It was a cocktail bar, tiny cocktail bar with someone playing on the piano and singing in like a vintage microphone. So I sat there and I ordered this cocktail, this PB&J cocktail that came in a giant eraser made of wood. And there was like tons of peanut butter on the side, and the cocktail was delicious. Anyway, I was like, oh my God, all the glasses were super funky and different. It was amazing. Then this guy comes in and sits next to me, and we start a conversation. He tells me that I'm sitting in one of the best cocktail bars in the world, that he's on a layover in London. He's from, what's that country? It's an island. Small island, starts with a C. Oh my God. Let me pause this and Google it. I'm back. He was from Cyprus. On a layover in London because he was a representative for fancy spirits companies, and he wanted to spend all night going from one cocktail bar to the other to taste the best cocktails. And he said to me, do you want to come with me? I would love to have some company. I'm going to pay for the drinks. It's going to be super fun. And I heard my mom's voice in my head be like, this is a stranger, be careful, you're in a relationship, he probably wants something from you, he's not going to do that out of the kindness of his heart, he wants something in return. But I just said, sure, that sounds fun. Because I had a good feeling, and like I told you, I believe that most people are kind-hearted humans. And you know what? The whole time I was careful. I'm not telling you to just be reckless. I was careful the whole time. And we spent the most amazing night. Nothing happened. He was just friendly and generous and a good conversation. We said bye. He went to the airport. I went back to my friend's home with like my eyes full of stars. And this memory is one I cherish very deeply. This special magical night with a stranger. The only thing I'm disappointed about is that I didn't meet Jude Law. There was a place we went to that was so fancy. The kind of place I would never go on my own. I thought to myself, I bet Jude Law comes here. I used to have a crush on Jude Law when I was a teenager, and I thought the British accent was the sexiest thing in the world. Anyway, I digress. What was I saying? Yes, your view of the world and what you want to believe about people is going to influence your experience, right? If you thought to yourself, all men are dangerous, I trust no men, then if I believed that, I wouldn't have that experience. And listen, I have compassion because I know that you may have experienced something in the past that influences what you believe now. That I may have been lucky to have had quite an easy, privileged life that makes it easier for me to believe these things. But I want to say, what you've experienced in the past doesn't have to dictate what you believe today, from now on and into the future. If you want to create a different reality, if you want to have different experiences, look at your views of the world. Look at what you believe and see how you can tweak that tweak that so that it changes how you show up in your daily life. And that's a big part of what we do in coaching in Brave and Bold is get really curious about what are the unconscious beliefs, because that's the thing. Most of these beliefs are unconscious. They're just your computer programming that influences how you act, how you behave without you even noticing. You just think that's how it is. If a strange man asks me to follow him to another bar, I'm going to say no. That's just how it is. These are unconscious beliefs or like rules that we have for ourselves, that we have to gain awareness of and choose if we want to keep them. Because if you don't gain awareness, if you don't get curious about them, then they lead your life. You are led by your default programming instead of deciding every day, who do I want to be? What do I want to create? Do I want to live my life according to the experiences of my past? Yes or no? If the answer is no, okay, what do I want? If you want to spend 6 months rewriting your programming, rewriting your beliefs, join my container. Join Brave and Bold, because every week we meet and talk about this. Talk about, what's the belief that influences this area of your life? Why are you not where you want to be? Either in your relationships, either in your career, either with your body, with your mental health. Why are you not where you want to be? What's the belief that's getting in the way of the life you want to create? All right, I think that's it for today. If you're interested in applying for Brave and Bold, my 6-month coaching program, you can do so at selfgrowthnerds.com/brave-and-bold. You can join the program whenever you want. The people that are already in the program are super welcoming, and it's self-paced, so everyone goes to their own rhythm, and we meet every week to talk about how we can enhance our thinking and therefore enhance our realities. Again, you can join anytime. So if you're interested, apply, and accepted applicants will receive a free private training in which I explain my 3-part framework to creating a more fulfilling life. So that's no commitment, no obligation. You just watch the training and you make a decision for yourself. All right. So that's, again, selfgrowthnerds.com/brave and bold if you want to apply. Otherwise, have a beautiful week. I will talk to you next week. Now I'm going to close my recording app, try to put this with the intro song, the outro song, and go sit on the sofa underneath my blanket and relax before the week starts. All right, I will talk to you next week. Bye-bye. You just listened to the Self-Growth Nerds podcast. Make sure to subscribe and to find me on Instagram at Self-Growth Nerds. If you want individual help developing the confidence to create a more meaningful and exciting life, visit selfgrowthnerds.com today to learn how. Finally, I want to thank my friend Etienne Galano for editing this, and I want to thank you, kind-hearted souls, for growing into your truest, most courageous selves every day and making this world a better, more beautiful place. My name is Marie, and I will talk to you next week.